Week 2 has ended, and there's a couple teams that are really, really good, and some teams are just, not very good. This is Sports Hour. What is up, Alexander Thomas here? Welcome back to Game Time 123. We are in week 3, going into week 3. Sorry about the comments of all the creation. I'm trying to see what happened there. uh, here. So, yes, turn it off. This is going to be week 3. It's going to be an interesting week because this is a week like no other. There are quite a few games units. Let's take a look first at the NBL season. Moving over. So the season, a lot of teams is the current order for the NBL and the current playoff predicament if the playoffs were to happen today. And this is the one for ABL. And this would be the current thing for that. The team that has the best prediction, other than they had the number one for points, is the Stars. The Stars have the most points of any team. They have also allowed a lot of points, though, so they are not very high up there. Team currently in first place is the Indians for the points allowed. Team in first place for the points scored is the Stars. Werewolves are right behind them, followed by the Panthers, and after that it is maybe should be the I don't know which one it is. It's the tie between the Knights and the Falcons as of right now. So these are the teams that currently have the best position. We get to go and talk about what teams I think are doing the best right now, and it's very obvious. It's very, very obvious for me to say the Stars are doing the best. Warriors are doing really well as well. Huskies are doing well. All these teams have done really well. The teams that are struggling the most are the Cardinals and the Bears for the NBL. They just haven't done anything going. The team that's struggling the most is probably just the Lightning. The Supermen are actually doing decently. They aren't doing well on the context. They have obviously had some hard games when it came to it, but the Lightning just haven't scored. Looking at the Lightning's actual score, They are dead last when it comes to points. 107 points they have scored to 205 that they allowed. So this is not exactly it. They are currently not in a great position. They are currently tied with the Pirates, who both have really bad scores. Not the worst, but they have a pretty bad score against. Let's take a look going into week 3. Week 3 times we're going in, and it's probably going one side. I did put the actual records for all those teams, so we can kind of get a look at what's going on for each one. I did go. Everyone went with 14 points, I believe. Everyone had 14-6 last week. I think there were some changes in week, but going here, it's gonna be a fun week. Starting off with the Lightning and the Falcons. Falcons are favored by 23. It's not gonna even be close in that game. I will say right now, it's gonna be a one-sided game. It's gonna be the Falcons that win that game. The Colts and Dolphins. The Colts are doing really well. Dolphins are doing decently, but unfortunately, I just don't think the Colts have what it takes to lose this game. I will say that the Dolphins, while Dolphins are favored, I don't think there's a good chance the Colts are not going to win this game. And they're going to be up there again. And get the Chargers and the Tex. Both teams are really tough. It's going to be very hard for me going for either one of these teams. I'm going to give the Tarks the win here, but I do think it's going to be a very close game. We got ourselves the Supermen and the Beagles, both teams that have not won a game yet. Both teams that probably give a hard time, and I'm going to call this game heavily in favor of the Bengals. I think the Beagles are going to do a lot better when it comes to points. It's a tie between the Bulldogs, the Bobcats, and the UNC. UNC is slightly underdogs here, but not really that much of one. I'm going to give UNC the win here. I think the Bobcats are going to be slant, but I think it's going to be a very close game. We got the Giants and the Bears. I don't think the Bears have what it takes to give the Giants the win here. But it could go heavily, really good favor for the Bears if they can do well. As for the Lightning Packers, I don't think there's a chance. I think the Packers are going to win this game. They'll be 1-1-1. Speaking of which, I forgot to mention that there was a tie last week. The Otters and Packers, which was the game of the week last week, tied. We got the Limley Cats and the Werewolves. Could easily be the game of the week, except that it's just not going to work out that way in this case. I'm going to give the Leland Cats the win here. I think the Werewolves are really good when it comes to this one, but they're just not really. I think the Werewolves have just got really lucky his first two games. The first two games of the season. Just looking at the Werewolves. Werewolves played the Beagles, which was an easy win, and then they played against the Lightning, which was an easy win. I think, to be honest, I think the Leland Cats are going to do a whole lot better. Looking at the Leland Cats. Leland Cats play the Stars, which is a really tough battle. And then you had this Leland Cats play the Athens, which wasn't as tough of a battle, but it was pretty intense. I'm going to give the Leland Cats the win here. I do think it's going to be a very good game. I think, honestly, there's a chance the Werewolves do win this game, but I'm going to give the Leland Cats the win. We got the Jets and Hawks. While I do think the Jets are favored, I do think it's going to be the Hawks that win this game. I don't think there's much of a chance. Lynx and Otters. Lynx, 1-1. Otters haven't won a game yet. They're 0-1-1. I'm giving the Lynx the win here. I don't think there's a good chance that the Otters are going to be able to come back even enough against them. But this could be one of those games where they get really high, really hyped and win. Dragons and the Foxes, tough one. It's a very tough one, giving the Dragons the win. I do think the Foxes are going to put up a good fight. It's going to be a very high-scoring game, in my opinion. So looking at it, it's probably going to be somewhere around a 80 point game each. Werewolves and Lightning is the game of the week. I'm giving the Knights the win. I think the Knights are just going to do a whole lot better when it comes against the Warriors. But I do think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. It could easily be a game that ties as well. But ties are much more difficult to do right now. I'm going to give the Knights the win. But, you know, it could easily be the Warriors that could come up from top. We got the Kings and Angels. Both these teams are awful. Sure, Kings are favored. Angels win because I don't think the Kings are going to be able to keep up. The Kings have been having a problem in like the third and fourth quarters, keeping track of it. I just don't think it's going to do well for them. We got the Stars and Athens. Give me the Stars for this one. I think the Athens being 0-2 is not going to do well for them. Saints and Panthers, tough one. No, it's not. It's the Panthers all the way. While we can look at the Saints for the first 2 weeks. They played the Tigers and lost. No, they won against the Tigers, and then they won against the Browns and lost pretty badly. So honestly, I feel like the Saints are just not able to do enough to keep the against the Panthers. Got the Tigers and Pirates. I'm going to give the Tigers the win here. I don't think the Pirates have what it takes. Pirates just have not been doing well. Looking at their first 2 games of the season, yeah, they got demolished by the Panthers, and then they got demolished by the Indians. They're just not going to be a good team this one. I won't think it's going to be a very low score. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game for the Tigers, and I think the Pirates just not going to keep up with it. I'm going to go with the Pirates getting about 40 points, which is a lot lower. We got the Huskies and the Lions. While I would love to see the Lions win this game, it's going to be the Huskies. Huskies just have a lot more going into them, and I think it's going to be a much better game. Indians and Ravens. Tough one. This game can go either way. I feel like the Indians have a bit of are a little luckier because looking at the Indians, I get like the Indians here. Indians had a pretty easy game in week 1. Sure, they didn't have the Indians had a pretty easy game in week 2. Versus, on the other hand, we had the Ravens. Ravens have not had an easy game. Ravens had a hard game against the Browns, and the Ravens had a pretty tough game against the Tigers. I'm going to say that the Ravens got a much better chance of winning this game. I'm going to go with the Ravens winning this game. Although I do think the Indians might surprise here. Browns and Cardinals. Browns have done really well. Cardinals have not. Of course, the Browns, to put it this way, the Cardinals, go look back at the Cardinals have had a pretty hard schedule going up for the beginning, but I'm going to say that it's not going to be anywhere from it, so I'm putting the Browns winning this game by a long shot. We got the Dogs and the Bulldogs. Pretty tough game. Dogs are favored by 1. And Dogs are going to probably win by 1. I think the Bulldogs do have a good chance of doing something here, but I don't think they're going to get much going. And that's what I'm going to say for that. Going back, looking at the divisions, if we were to take a look at this thing and say that there's a lot of things that could have happened. This is the toughest division right now is definitely the NBL North. Well, the top 3 anyways. The Legends have not done anything, and the Cardinals have not done anything. Both of them have really bad records. They both have a really low in scoring. Cardinals are just terrible in scoring, and they have both allowed more points than they have scored. I think the Legends have a little bit better chance going into it at this point in time, but they're not much better. Looking at the next division for the ABL, the ABL has the hardest division. It's got to be the ABL East. I mean, looking at the ABL East, everyone except for the Colts is 1-1. And they all have a pretty tough schedule. I think honestly they're all defensive bases, and I'm gonna go with that being a tough. Going in this. That is gonna be all for Sports Hour this week. Week 4 will be coming up. We're gonna have some pretty good games that week. I'll see you guys in the next video, and don't forget to keep your game on. Yeah. I'll try to make sure I get the thing working next week.